Namaskar Sathiyo. Today we are going to talk about a very important examination, that is the Indian Civil Services examination, for which the UPSC has issued notification on 1st of this month, that is 1st February 2023. The, the examination for civil services is a very prestigious examination in our country because lakhs and lakhs of students they appear in that examination, and finally only 1,000 are finally selected. So you can understand the importance of this examination. It is very tough, and not only tough, it is a very long drawn examination that consists of three phases. That first phase is preliminary examination, the second phase is the main examination, and third phase is the interview. So you have to prepare in a very integrated manner for this examination. And this year the preliminary examination will be held on 25th of May, and today we are going to talk only about the preliminary examination, for which the last date is last date for the application is 22nd of February this month. This IAS examination is actually held for this civil services examination is held for IAS, IPS, Indian Foreign Services, and 18 other allied services. And this year the number of vacancies is 1,105. The eligibility for you is 21 years. You must have completed on the coming of 1st August 2023. All those who have completed 21 years or will complete 21 years will be eligible, but you should not have completed 32 years on the 1st of August. If you are completing 32 years on 1st of August, then you are not eligible age limit wise. However, there is a relaxation for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes for up to 5 years, and for the OBC eligible for reservation up to 3 years. For defense services personnel, there is a reservation sometimes 3 years and sometimes 4 years. You should also be knowing that you have got 6 attempts. Everybody has got 6 attempts, all general candidates. But for OBCs, there are 9 attempts, and for SCs and STs, there is no attempt bar. The fees is very moderate, just 100 rupees, but there is no fees for female candidates, and there is no fees for scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, and other disability category candidates. This examination, today we are going to talk about only the preliminary part of the first part of the examination, because it is very soon to be held. And this examination consists of 2 papers. Both the papers, and yes, there is no optional paper in this examination. The preliminary examination is only based on general studies, general awareness, and there is no optional involved in this. This examination becomes so very important because for one post, that means there are 1,105 posts. For every single post, they will be selecting only 13 candidates. That means you can understand that roughly you can say that around 14,000 candidates will be finally selected through the preliminary examination out of lakhs and lakhs of students who will appear. This preliminary examination, as I have told you, is only of objective type, and there is no subjective question in this, only objective type questions about which we will talk about. And there are 2 papers in this examination, the first GS paper and the second GS paper. It's very important to remember that both the papers are objective, but only the GS1 paper will take you into IAS mains or not. That's because only the first paper is competitive. The second paper is only of a qualifying nature. So, but in the qualifying paper, you have to procure certain marks which the commission has already declared, that is 33%. So in the first paper, you have the real challenge. In the second paper, of course, 33% mark, getting 33% marks is not a big deal, but the first paper happens to be very important. This preliminary examination is virtually the entry point of a Chakravyuh. Just like you have heard that there was a Chakravyuh in Mahabharata, and all the stalwarts, Pandava stalwarts, very, very, able fighters could not enter the Chakravyuh because they did not know the art of breaking that scheme. In the same way, I call this preliminary examination a Chakravyuh examination, the entry point of the IAS examination or civil services examination. And howsoever brilliant and howsoever talented and howsoever good student you might be, but if you don't know the art of breaking that entry point, that is a preliminary examination, you probably may not get into it, you may not qualify, and therefore today we are going to discuss about all those techniques that will probably help you in breaking that barrier and gate crashing into the IAS civil services examination by cracking the preliminary examination. Uh, both the papers are GS paper, there are no subject optional. In the first paper, there are 100 questions of 200 marks, and each question is of 2 marks. This is very important, there is an equal distribution of marks. 100 questions, 200 marks. In the second paper, there are only 80 questions of 200 marks, but the mark distribution is indicated and you have to get only 33% marks. So that we will talk about later. But the most important part in both the papers is, whether it be the GS first paper or whether it be the GS second paper, that there is a provision for negative marking. And the Commission has clearly specified that for every wrong answer, not only that you will lose that mark, but you will also be penalized, and 33% of the marks allotted to every question will be deducted as a negative marking. So if there is a question of 2 marks, 1/3 of that will be denied to you, and that will be very, very harmful if you commit more mistakes. And therefore, in the IAS preliminary examination, you have to keep it as a mantra that you do not have to make any guesswork in answering the question. If you are 100% sure about a question, only then you have to attempt that question. If you are having a little doubt about that question and you are not 100% sure, then you please leave that question blank. You don't attempt it, because that will be a great blunder and you will not only lose that mark but also penalize 1/3 of that mark allotted to that question you will also lose. So you have to be very, very clear. 1/3 marks you cannot afford to lose for every wrong answer, because then it will be very, very difficult for you. So what I am trying to tell you is that you have to be very clear about your approach. Let us come to the first paper, which is the most important and competitive paper. Both the papers are of 2 hours. First paper is also of 2 hours and second paper is also of 2 hours. Let us concentrate on the first paper, which is competitive, and marks obtained in that paper will finally take you into the IAS mains. The first paper it consists of 7 sections and very exhaustive. It has a lot of subjects. You have a lot of subjects to cover to handle that particular paper. And the 7 sections in that GS1 is current affairs, history and national movement, 2 geography, world and Indian geography, Indian polity and governance, economics, environment and general science. So these are the 7 components. Of course, we might be very brilliant and we might be very ferocious reader, but at the same time, we cannot claim to be experts in each and every discipline. Of course, you will be reading a lot, you will be taking notes, etc. But here I will give you 2 important practical suggestions. One is that preliminary examination is an examination for which you have to make a long preparation. It's not possible that in February you start preparation and in May you qualify the preliminary examination. That can be a rare chance accident, but normally students, they prepare for a long time and then they get through into the IAS preliminary examination, through IAS preliminary examination. So that is the first thing. But even if you have to take notes, you don't take detailed notes. You take one-liners, just one-line notes for whatever you are reading in all those disciplines. And the second very important thing is that most of the students, they do this mistake that they neglect their strong wickets and focus on areas in which they are weak. Take my words that if you think that you are poor in economics or you are poor in science, any amount of labor that you put in will not help you will score good marks so far as those segments are concerned. And in the effort to concentrate on your weak points, what happens is that you neglect your strong wickets where you can score better. So my advice to you would be that out of these 7 compartments, you identify the strong wickets that you have and ensure that those wickets, the questions which are coming from those segments, suppose you are very good in current affairs, you are very good in history, you are very good in geography, you are very good in Indian polity. So my advice would be that in these 4 segments, ensure that not a single question is such that you are not able to attend it. I mean, strengthen your strong wickets and master them all so that, and of course, in the remaining time that you have, of course, you must also give attention to the other compartment. You need not neglect anyone, but the emphasis is that you should be attending the areas where you find yourself to be very strong. In the second section, there are 5-6 portions like comprehension is there, interpersonal skill is there so far as communication skills are concerned, logical reasoning is there, analytical ability you need to demonstrate, decision making capability and problem solving aptitude, your general mental ability and basic numeracy that you have to all do. But in this I can understand that the social science students and humanities students are slightly at a disadvantage vis-a-vis the science background students, but still you have to ensure that in these you score 40% marks, because 33% is the qualifying mark. So if you target 40-50%, that will be quite manageable and you don't have to worry too much about for that. Now, most of the students, they think that, oh, objective is objective question. But they do not understand this, that in IAS, the objective questions are not of just a common nature or singular nature. There are at least 7, varieties of objective questions that you have to handle. The one is called multiple choice question. This multiple choice question is the simplest. There is a question, there are 4 options, and out of that, those 4 options, one option is the correct option. You have to identify that. That is the multiple choice question. The second variety of objective question is the multiple selection questions. Multiple selection questions means there is a one question, and in that particular question there are several answers given, and out of those several answers, not only one is correct, but there can be 2 correct answers, there can be 3 correct answers, there can be all correct answers, and you have to figure out a bunch of correct answers. There can be more than one. They are called multiple selection. You have to select more than one as correct answer, and that is the second variety, that is a little tough. The third variety of objective question is the assertion reason question. There is a statement given, and which is called A, and there is a reasoning given just below that. This is called R, and you have to demonstrate that both are correct or not. That is the first thing, and if they are correct, whether the reasoning is correct reasoning to explain the first assertion. So assertion is backed by reasoning or not, or both are correct and the reasoning and the assertions, they don't match, and so on and so forth. So the options are given. This is also very interesting battle so far as the objective questions are concerned. Then there are chronological questions. There are certain events or phenomena given, and you are supposed to arrange them in a chronological order, descending or ascending. You have to check this much, that whether examiner is asking you to arrange it in a descending manner or ascending manner. Then there are pairing questions. There are certain things given which are, for example, suppose there are certain thinkers given and their ideologies are given, so they are paired. So you have to match. You have to see, if identify whether they correctly match, which one is the correct incorrectly matched. Then there are list questions, and list questions means that there is a list of there are a list of component questions given and their answers are given in a very haphazard manner, and you have to figure out, you have to connect those questions and their answers, they are insequentially matched, and that is called list criteria of question. And finally you have a Prezi type. You all know Prezi very well. A paragraph is given, and on this paragraph certain questions are set, and you have to finally figure out those, you have to give answer to the questions by reading the paragraph. Now, in attempting all these objective questions, there are certain principles that you have to keep in mind. One is that you have to apply the principle of recognition here and not the principle of recall, because in the examination, in the question paper, all the possible correct answers are given. So if you have ever read, that's why I said that no notes are needed actually. You have to just register it in your mind that you have read it somewhere, because the moment you see the answer, you will recall that this is the correct answer. You don't have to, you recognize that this is the correct answer. You don't have to recall, like in the essay type questions, we have to recall everything, exerting our mind that what should be the correct answer. Here the answer is before you and you have to just recognize that which one is the correct answer. So in the objective, handling the objective questions, you need not recall, but you have to recognize. That is the first principle. The second principle is the principle of elimination. It means that sometimes we do not know the correct answer, but we know which answers are incorrect, and therefore we have to eliminate the incorrect answer. We for sure know that this is, somebody can ask you who is the president of Nigeria, and you for sure there are options given. You know the American presidents, you know the British Prime Minister and the Indian Prime Minister. So you can recognize that certainly they are not the president and Prime Ministers of Nigeria, and certainly the another name can be very easily identified. So sometimes you can do like this, you can apply the principle of elimination, that you recognize the wrong answers and then the right answer will stand on a pedestal and very crystal clear. So that's the second thing. Now, sometimes, in spite of all this knowledge, when we go to the examination hall, when you enter the examination hall, your psychology gets disturbed for certain reasons, and therefore you need to know very clearly what are your approach, what is your strategy inside the examination center, inside the examination hall. One is that please reach half an hour before the examination starts, well in time, so that there is no tension in the mind that you are caught in the traffic or you are getting late and there is some tension locating your seat and all, because there are a huge number of candidates. So you reach in time, well before time, no tension, locate which room you are allotted, go there and sit properly and coolly. Don't talk to anybody. Just relax. Be absolutely cool, number one. Second is that you must ensure that you have all the necessary tools with you which are required you should have a pencil, you should have a razor, you should have a pen, everything that is required within there. You have your admit card, everything. Ensure that you all have all those things. As soon as the booklet is given by the examiner, sometimes the students are so panicky that immediately they will try to peep into the booklet. Don't do that. Let wait. Let the examiner give you a signal that now he will say that now you can open the booklet. Only open the booklet only when examiner says, invigilator says that open the booklet. When you open the booklet, many students do not have the patience and they straight away start to the question. No, that's a very, very fatal strategy, because the commission gives you an instruction that as soon as you receive the booklet, carefully ensure that it has all the pages, all the questions, there is no blank page which is not printed properly, because that's your responsibility to ensure that you have a valid question booklet, paper booklet, and ensure that there are all pages, they are all printed, there is no problem with the booklet, and then you start filling the booklet, the required information, then you start. Now, once you have everything neat and clean and you have spent 3-4 minutes in this, not more than, it will take not more than 3-4 minutes, then go through question number 1 to 100 in a very sequential and quick manner, and keep a pencil with you. And if you are 101% sure of an answer to a question, then immediately give a tick over there, so that in the first go through of the question paper, 100 questions, suppose you are able to handle 50 questions or say 40 questions, whatever, but you are damn sure about that, you are 200% sure about the answers to those questions, because it's like, who is the Prime Minister of India? You know for sure that Mr. Modi is the Prime Minister of India. Who is the President of India? Draupadi Murmu is the President of it. So such kind of confident answer responses, if you get over there, you mark those questions. That is, in one fine, usually 5-10 minutes you will go through this, and first 10-15 minutes you will be consumed. Now still you have 1.5 ghanta, 1.5 hours. Now you go through the second reading of the questions, and now in the second reading you are only reading those questions which you have not been able to handle in the first reading. Don't read all the questions again and again. If you have done 40 questions, now only concentrate on the 60 questions. In this 60 questions, exert your mind and try to understand, try to examine, try to recognize the correct answer that you have by exerting your entire capacity, your energy and your acumen, so that you are able to you will find that in the second attempt you are able to handle a couple of questions more, maybe 10-15 more questions, and you are sure. In the first go you are in a hurry, but in the second run you are confident, and now 10-15 questions are again 100% ensured. In the third, go through the question paper in the third round, the remaining ones, and in the remaining ones apply the principle of elimination. Try to eliminate the wrong answers and try to figure out the right answer. That should be the third part. And once you have run through all the question paper, entire question paper 3 times, 1 time, 2 time and 3 time, then very few questions will be left which you are pretty sure that you don't know the answer to those questions. And please, for God's sake, don't do any guesswork in the dying hours of your. Now you have your answer sheet and you try to fill it very neatly and correctly, and if don't entertain any allurement to take any chance or just do any kind of a guesswork in the dying hours. That could be a very suicidal thing, because if you lose a question, if you leave a question blank, you are not paralyzed, but if you are attempting a question wrongly, then you are penalized, and that can be very dangerous, and you cannot afford that. Again, just as a reminder, 22nd February is the last date for applying for the IAS examination. You should not miss that. 6 p.m. is the timing, and the examination will be held on 28th of May. But don't panic. Don't run from pillar to post, this coaching to that coaching. Read at home. Concentrate on your studies, whatever you know. Master your skills. Revisit your strategies and gear up for the 28th May. I wish you all the very best. If you just don't panic, and some of you who are still quite young, they can still just go and take a preliminary examination. No worries, there are 6 attempts. So first, if it is for some youngster who are very early, if they take preliminary examination, then they can have a feel of the preliminary examination, what kind of an examination, then they can next year finally go for a final bout. But you never know. It's most of the time many candidates who are even in MA previous or MA final doing, they clear the preliminary examination and then finally they clear the final examination. So it's all depends upon you. I wish you all the very best. I am very sure that you will, after having listened to all these strategies, you will try to incorporate in your preparation and attempt the entire preliminary examination very well. In some time later, when you are through the preliminary examination, we'll also talk about the how to attempt the main examination. Thank you very much and wish you all the very best.